I've always said from the very beginning, if you are learning a language and not using it, that means not speaking it, then what is the point? Not learning languages to study them. We're not learning languages to just do grammar, unless you really want to, because there are people like that. We learn language to connect with people, connect with others in our community. So I wanted to make a quick video on exactly how to do that. There are many videos of me on my channel talking to people in public
Звідки
Я?
з України?
Ні, я не з України.
in my community
I'm from Palestine.
فلسطين
Palestine.
فلسطين
Oh, you know Palestine.
بعرف يا بعرف احكي اللهجة فلسطين
and using languages as a way to do that. I want to share a little bit about what goes behind the scenes and also giving some truth as to this whole process, how to talk to people, how to build up the courage. But I really want to talk about all the work that goes into that. There is this concept by this super famous polyglot that I adore and love who says, speak from day one. Speak from day one, go to your community, go to all these places, go to the library, get a book on how to learn Vietnamese and go to a Vietnamese restaurant in your place and start speaking Vietnamese and da da da. I kind of disagree with that. I personally don't speak the language on day one to people. I think it is important to start speaking the language, but I like to do a little bit of studying before I actually go into the community and talk to real people. When I start to learn a language, I don't talk to native speakers in my community right away. I don't do that. I take a few weeks to like do some self study. And of course, I speak the language. You know, if you want to hire an online teacher or tutor, you can do that. I personally don't always do that, but for me, I do speak the language like in my room or when I'm actually studying, I do speak, but I find those interactions much more fruitful and much more rewarding once you have taken some time to do some self study. If I go and learn five phrases and that's all I have, I don't think that is a very like fruitful. I don't think that conversation is gonna go anywhere. So yeah, I like to do some self-study and before I talk to real people, real native speakers, I typically go through some very basic sentences. When I get through these basic sentences and I get my feet a little bit more grounded on the pronunciation and the actual language, I then am able to speak to people. But here is how you can talk to anyone in the language that you're learning. Number one is you need to have a list of like 20 questions on what to ask people, right? So I find that when you are practicing your languages in the wild, like which is in the community, in your local bakery or coffee shop or grocery store or wherever, you need to carry the momentum of the conversation with a list of 20 questions, okay? And these 20 questions could be asked to anyone. And this is the key to having a fruitful conversation, even as a beginner. So, some of these questions are where are you from? How long have you been living here? I don't ask age. Don't ever ask age, okay? That's just a tip for you. Which city are you from? What would you recommend if it's a restaurant? What would you recommend? Is this good? Etc. You then also have a list of sentences that describes you. You know, describing where you live, where you're from, how you learned this language. What do you plan to do with this language? Do you plan to visit a certain country? Basically, you need to develop a bank of sentences that describes you, your situation, where you're from, all this stuff about you. This is going to be like your toolkit in that even though you're a beginner, even though you're like A1, A2, even if you've only been studying for 2 months, you can be able to talk to people. I have videos on my YouTube channel where I am talking to people in 1 week. Okay, that's a little bit extreme, but I would say even in 1 month, you can talk to people in your target language, in the language that you're learning. only by developing a strong vocabulary to talk about yourself. Okay. And that's the key to learning any language. A1, okay, is always talking about you. It's all about you, your family, where you live, where you're from, where you work, etc. Talking about where you're from is the key to be able to have conversations with native speakers even after only 1 month of learning a language. And the key is to master that toolkit. I know some people are very surprised when I say I don't practice languages with people on the first day of learning a language. I don't do that personally. And some people disagree, but I think spending that time to be efficient and really learn how to talk about yourself and learn how to ask good questions to native speakers, that is going to allow you to be able to stand on your own 2 feet. It's also important to have phrases for when you don't understand something or when the person is speaking too fast. That is also great too. The most important thing is to actually do this. Speaking is extremely important in language learning. And if you are able to do this one time, you can do it again and again. And the thing about this is that once you do it once, it may not turn out the way you want it to be. Honestly, just from my experience, the first few times of me actually speaking the language I'm learning to native speakers, it usually is bad. The first few conversations are horrible. Honestly, I don't like to look stupid. That's one of the fears I have. I don't like to look dumb or stupid. These few conversations really do kind of make me feel that way. But, but, after you do it one time, you notice and can reflect, oh, I could have said this, I could have said that, I could have done this. Yeah, I could have worded it like that. From every single experience that you speak with people, you will learn something, you will reflect, you will begin to say, oh, okay. And you come out of these conversations with such a hunger and drive to become better. That is actually the motivation to continue learning the language. Is when you are in this constant cycle of wanting to improve and improve and improve. And before you know it, you are going to be a B1 and B2, and who knows, maybe you'll get to C1 and C2. But you definitely have to be out there. You have to be speaking. You have to be communicating in your target language, because if you don't use it, you lose it.